Hi you guys, it's Becca from BeccaBoutIt. Today I'm gonna do a soul story for you guys. And I've really only ever done one since I ever started reading. And I feel very called and very led to do them, but I also want to make sure that I am showing respect to the soul whose story this is. Obviously, I'm not going to give any names or give any indications as to whose lifetime this was, but I think these are really important for you guys to understand how soul damage works and the anatomy of a soul and what it looks like, right? So I'm just going to go through it, but I want you guys to, as I present this, please be mindful. Am I sharing the information appropriately? Is it helping? Is it something that you feel is necessary or needed? Because to be honest with you, it's something that scares me just a little bit, so I feel like I should push myself into doing it, but I want to make sure that I'm showing respect for my craft, the other soul. I just want it to be presented in the energy that is intended, which is education and to help you, awareness. So this is going to be a two-part series. This is part one. This soul actually presented with 2 lifetimes of damage. That is a clear pattern and I think is a very good indication of how we make choices that affect us lifetime after lifetime. So here's part one. Lifetime 1, the damage presented. The damage presented for this soul was a negative thought form, which eventually became a program of anxiety running in the 5th chakra of the mental body. And then there was a golden web tear at the 4th chakra, which actually created an opening for an entity attachment of self-loathing. And we'll talk about that. And memory clouded due to the damage in the golden web at the 4th chakra. So we'll talk about all of that. So this soul, the soul incarnated into a family of very prominent writers, like writers, authors, and teachers, essentially, okay? It was a very male-oriented family. So there was 1 female, 3 brothers, and a father. This was the youngest son that incarnated. This person is currently a female in this lifetime. So this soul incarnated into a family of prominent writers, authors, and teachers. And the soul was not particularly gifted in that energy. The soul came in with the primary energy of communication, divine communication. But the spoken language, public speaking, was definitely more in line with the soul's gifts. So this soul had a need to prove himself to his father and his older brothers. And this is where the trouble really began, right there. When we have a denial of our own gifts and try to adopt something else for approval from someone else. So this soul actually studied, focused, worked harder, and actually became quite an amazing poet, but it wasn't, again, naturally in line with his gifts. He never gained the approval of his family. So boom, that's where others' reality enters our field and we start to question our own self. So right there, that's where the unhealthy patterns begin, and we start to surrender our sovereignty over to the opinions of others. Okay, so here's the pattern. Writing something he feels is amazing but needing validation. Sharing his works with his brothers and father, not getting approval at all. In fact, really getting destroyed. Trying harder to receive validation through working harder, studying more, writing better. Writing something he feels is amazing but then needing validation. Sharing his works, not getting approval, trying harder. Okay, see, there's the pattern. So at this point, no damage has really occurred. There's something hovering around out there, but it's just still a negative thought form at this point. So I want to make sure that you guys understand how soul damage happens. It doesn't just happen overnight, like one choice and boom, you're done, your soul's damaged. That is not how it works. These are continued choices that are upheld through negative coping mechanisms and patterns. But he continued to do this. And so the negative thought form was then able to manifest deeper into his mental field by feeding off the energy of anxiety that the soul felt when he shared his works with his family. Okay? So the negative thought form is out there. Okay? It's this need for approval. It's not feeling good enough. Okay? So the soul definitely wants to evolve and grow and expand, but unfortunately he's evolving and growing and expanding at the expense of his own internal soul because he's in alignment with other people's ideas of what he should do. Okay, So every time he would go share his works with his family, he would have a feeling of anxiety because they would tear them apart and be more harsh than was necessary. But this was due to their own failures and their own negative ego constructs. But the soul took their words to heart and allowed this energy into their mental body further by dwelling on it and replaying their words in his mind. Okay. So that is the key point. Okay. When we choose to adopt an unrealistic, not in aligned version of ourselves, that creates cognitive dissonance within our bodies. Okay, so that's what he was feeling. So at this point, the soul is feeling a lot of cognitive dissonance because he knew in his heart of hearts that what he wrote was good. Okay, his father and brothers were taking out their own stuff on him, and he genuinely knew that on the inside, but chose to believe them versus his own inner knowing. Okay, he dwelt on those words, allowed them deeper and deeper into his mental body. Okay, where your focus is, that's where your energy is going. So you're feeding those thought forms with that energy. Okay, he could not find the will within his own mental field to believe in himself. Okay, so and that conflicting emotion that he felt inside of him actually caused a golden web tear at his heart chakra. He basically broke his own heart. Okay, our golden web keeps our energy body whole and in integrity. Our light body, I guess for a lot of people, our golden web surrounds our light body, and that keeps us in wholeness and integrity. And so that broken heart created a tear that began allowing his heart chakra energy to leak out instead of remaining whole and intact within his toroidal field. Okay, so instead of going like this and recycling and coming back in, cleansing and recycled whole and pure and, you know, coherent energy, stuff was leaking out. Okay, so when something leaks out, it's like beings out there can feel that. Okay, they pick up on that and they sense that, and so that actually, that energy leakage comes up later. Okay, so now we have a need for approval from others who literally refuse to give it, and they've turned abusive. So the soul has now chosen to ignore his own inner knowingness. So that thought form has now turned into a golden web tear and a loss of integrity. So that vital life force energy is leaking out. So now he has less energy to manifest and create with even. So not only that, anti-divine energies can now get into that crack and sow deeper discord because you're no longer whole. So this negative thought form has now grown into a full-blown attachment of self-loathing that this soul feels for himself, that the other beings are actually feeding off of. And most likely unbeknownst to them. I mean, it's not like people go around saying, I'm going to feed off of your self-loathing and I want you to hate yourself so that I feel better about mine, right? But you can see how this family dynamic plays out, making someone the scapegoat in the drama triangle so they don't have to deal with their own failures and shortcomings, okay? So unfortunately, this soul lived in this violent family dynamic until his death and never actually resolved the lesson for himself in that lifetime. So he never learned to rely on his own inner validation and basically didn't learn how to love himself in that lifetime. Okay. So he actually died with a false self-perception of himself. And what people don't understand is that things like that actually stay with us and impact us in the next lifetime. And that's by design. It's supposed to. So our soul has a memory system all its own. Okay. And while the impeccably stored records of the Akashic contain everything, the soul itself has a memory system that's like a highlight reel of our interpretation of our past experiences. It's not the same as the Akashic energy, okay? We access our soul level memory system via our golden web, okay? Our golden web is rewoven every lifetime, but not to perfection. It's rewoven with the unresolved patterns and soul level damage we intend to work out in the next lifetime, and that's by design. So just like the ego, the soul has a perception of itself, which is grounded in its own experiences of itself, okay? It has its own perception of its lifetime. So when we make negative choices, we may actually interfere with our own soul level memory system and end up with a false self-perception of ourselves, even on the other side, okay? So in this case, the soul level memory is clouded from its experience. So the entire energetic pattern plays out in this soul's current life. Okay, this soul that's a female now has the same pattern playing out because it's by design. It causes that so that, you know, we can make sure to resolve it. So because this soul isn't really fully in tune with who they are, this soul is very unsure of their own choices. They're very insecure of their own path, and they're very confused about life goals, life choices. It's an unresolved pattern from a previous lifetime. So stay tuned next week, because I'll show you exactly what happened with this issue in the next lifetime that showed up, because it makes perfect sense. So next week we'll go over lifetime 2, and we'll relate it back to what they incarnated into based on this, and then I'll tie it into the current lifetime. So hopefully this helps. So if you guys enjoyed this, please let me know. Feedback is always welcome and appreciated. Comments, a like, a subscribe is even better, and a share is the best. So thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you guys so much. I love doing these videos, but sometimes it's thankless. So please let me know if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I'm Becca from BeccaBoutIt. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Until next time.